So my group's presentation was on chapter 9 and I had like section 2 of it. So this was the intro to organizational culture. So basically it's culture within an organization that changes its communicational design. So in other words, like in an organization or culture, like during a work scenario, when newcomers come in, they would learn about the company's history and their identity, and then they would listen to stories from the leaders of the company so that, on their trials and their triumphs, so that they can learn from their leaders on what they should and should not do, based on how the company has done things in the past. And then with personal stories, like for themselves, like if you are you're proceeding to show others how you view yourself, but how also you want them to perceive you. So basically communication between members of an organization, they produce change and they support that organizational culture, and it's basically like it rotates. So this is constantly happening in an organization. So here's my slide. And then the second thing is that there are structures. So as you can see, there's roles, rules, policies, and communicational networks. So with structures, they basically organize relationships and the interactions between everybody in an organization. And so each set of these have like reasons why they're set. So like roles, they're defined as your responsibility and the behavior you're to uphold because of your specific position. So for example, if you're somebody that's hiring people and that's your job, like you uphold a certain set of rules. So maybe you have to be like your role is you need to be friendly, you have to have good communication skills, you have to have a previous knowledge of how to hire people. So those are your rules so that they basically can define you in a company. And then they're not tied necessarily to a specific person, but they're basically like your responsibility and your function. So like as a college student, your responsibility and your function is to learn, to pursue a career, to get a degree. And so basically that's how that works. And then for rules are like pattern ways of interacting. So they can either be informal or formal. And then rules help set up ways to communicate and interact with other colleagues. So for example, like socializing with colleagues after work may be seen as like team spirit. So you just communicating with the company, it's rules like maybe, you have to attend a certain amount of meetings so that way, you bond with the members in your company or your group. And then for policies, there's formal practices that reflect and uphold the overall culture of an organization. And so basically, like for example, like sexual harassment. So that started to be such a big thing that most companies now have policies on how like you can't sexually harass anybody, and there's ways to report it. And so that happens with a lot of things. So basically like, you can't discriminate based on, sex or religion or race for certain jobs, and that's a policy. So if they do, there's ways to report it and there's ways to go about it. So each company, as things become more prevalent, they're adapting to that. And then lastly, there was communication networks, and these basically link members together. And you can do formal or informal interactions between these. So I had worked for A&W in St. Helena, and I remembered that we had a communication network, and it was a specific app only for A&W employees at that location, and it was a way to continually speak with our colleagues but not giving out our phone numbers. So just in case there was any type or form of sexual harassment, you didn't have their phone numbers or you didn't have their any contact information. It was specifically a job communication network. So it basically, and it kind of like promoted a togetherness that you wouldn't get if you just text people. So like at Starbucks, when I had worked there, you would just text constantly, and it got tiring because you didn't have everybody's number. So it was harder to communicate that way. but it was much easier A&W through that communication network. But yeah, and then here's my slides. And that's all for my part.